But yes, welcome to my process. We've never done this workshop before, so so this is kind of a creative process for us. So we're excited that with the people in the room and with the people in Newland, we will figure this out as we go along. And the first thing we're going to do is start with the no dance namaskaram, which is our ritual of entering into relationships. And you can follow along and copy what I'm doing. You can just watch, let it wash over you. You can create your own movements, or just listen and imagine as we go through this 9 years and ideas around ourselves. Breathe. Heart. Listen to the rhythm of your heartbeat. This organ that starts beating before we are even born. If you're a little anxious, use your magic power to slow it down. If you're already feeling chill and relaxed, you need a little feeling to pump it up a bit. So just connecting to the rhythm of your own body. And as you find that connection to your heartbeat, take a moment to consider what your first sound will be and how it might sink in with your rhythm. So from heart to sound. And take in that sound with every pore of your body. And think about the vibrations of sound and how they travel through space and time and how they connect us all. Think about the statements that your sound makes in this space. From sound, we go to circles. Making circles with different parts of your body. And circle around yourself. Taking in this circle we created in the room, including the people in the virtual space. Thinking about the symbolism of circles in many cultures and how they connect us. Thinking about what we have to offer the circle today, and thinking about what we have to learn from the beautiful people that are here. Heart, sound, circle, reach. Reaching up to the universe, reaching down to Mother Earth, reaching beyond the circle, reaching to offer help, reaching to ask for help, reaching beyond to think about who is missing, reaching inside to think about who we are nurturing. From reaching to Mother Earth in whatever way you are able, find a new connection with the ground beneath you. Disappear the floor, disappear the structure, find yourself in the earth, inhale the earth through your fingertips, and while we're here, take this moment to acknowledge the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat, the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Huron, the Chippewa, nations named and unnamed, who named July, and this beautiful image of us being on the back of a living creature. Also acknowledge the labor of stolen bodies that fills up these concrete scabs of cities that add to the adornments of Mother Earth, the trees, the lake, the creatures. Forgiveness. Taking a moment to think about forgiveness and atonement, and that even the smallest gestures and small actions can lead us towards a better future. Today I'm wearing lipstick by Cheekbone Beauty in the Business Makeup Company. Inhale, you unfold and unwind your love and connect yourself to the universe. Think about the fact that if you were to unfurl your DNA chain, it would reach beyond Pluto. Think about being made of stardust. Inhale and exhale. With my hands on my forehead. And try and find a place in my mind where thought begins. I consider ancestors and teachers, the gift of life and the way to dance. Inhale and exhale. And going back to the idea of the heart and taking into account the humanity in us all. So this is the Namaskaram, a little ritual of how we connect ourselves. And we do this in the studio, we do this in the office, we do this in these workshops. We find it a way to refocus. The next ritual we'll do, Tasha's passing out her card, and Tasha is going to tell us what we're about to do.
So up next, we're going to do a ritual called a petition ritual. This ritual was developed during the pandemic when we could no longer gather in person. We could go to an online process, and the words on this card became really central to our time together. It was a way to stay connected even though we were apart. And so every time we meet, including different company meetings and breakfast, we would either pick a word or phrase from the card or generate one of our own. Maybe talk about how we're feeling today and what our day is this morning. Yeah. Today I am feeling my bones. I think with just the way that I've changed the community and everything, really was feeling my body differently and just feeling the density that my bones felt in the space that I take up in the room. It's nice to know that everything starts from a fountain. Just been reflecting on that.
Well, I'll say ritual. As I come from a culture of gatherings and conversation, which is our ritual. So choose ritual as I feel that today and now.
I will say ancestors.
Let's say forgiveness. I don't know if you really very honest.
Major process of the mind. So that is something here I was experiencing a lot of degrees. The grades you see happiness in the It's true. My father's old church, which I grew up in years. They also used to do like art and gaming and computing Thanks everyone. I'm going to go with this is an experiment because it really is fun. The workshop is based on the belief that by comparing ourselves and building references, we can collectively take the time to ask questions, be curious, and that placing the art and creativity at the center of all that we do, we can make behavioral shifts that have a positive impact. Our mission at Methodologies is to build a robust performing arts organization, which is an artistic community, plays a crucial social role, celebrating the necessity for art and equity in arts. And this drives our service to the community. Our governance is an ever-evolving hybrid of meeting regulatory requirements and gradual unwinding of colonialist structures by centering care and compassion. As part of my process, I always have a score. And I always know that we're going to change all the score. And things like change. And people I work with are released to that as well. That they may suddenly be asked to do something slightly different than what we prepared. So I wanted to just do a little bit of play with this idea of art to heart, and that I'm a choreographer, and that the way I choreograph is also embedded in the way as a founder and a musician. I can develop structures and events. And so, that's about the Russia. I just want to take it yesterday, but whenever I describe the events and the structure I'm trying to do, this is the one that always comes up. So it's circular, and it means that the person who's the soloist doesn't always have to be the primary soloist. They can also have a smaller role in the performance. It means that there's fluidity. It means if somebody needs to stop to take care of their parents or their children, that there's still a flow. Cycles. Also, we think these circles go in wild turbulence and trying to find ways to balance and focusing cosmic energy so that no matter what's happening, the heartbeat and the pulse of the organization. I would now love you to share your thoughts that you were
Absolutely. I'm Russia. I'm a dancer, teacher, and museum choreographer, and I'm honored to share my journey with young bands, a company that profoundly impacted my artistic career and growth. So my journey with Divergence began in 2019 through a transformative mentorship program for the Divergence program. This mentorship provided me with 50 hours of dedicated studio time and 50 hours of insightful conversation. And these sessions were invaluable in offering me the opportunity to work on my skills as a dancer while gaining a deeper understanding of the art sector, especially as having been a recent grad from the University Dance Program. I'm also a Lebanese dancer, so entering into a contemporary dance sector with a form that is not the main form that is often showcased. Divergence was really instrumental in helping me find my footing in the larger sector where I wanted to go. The studio hours helped me delve into my practice, experimenting and pushing the boundaries of my creativity. I was given the tools to approach my art production practice in a completely different way, centering joy and exploration. Coming from a very dance background, like platform, and having limited remote ground modeling techniques from my time in university, I deeply appreciated Mel's approach to choreography. An example that I really enjoy is, I remember in my early work or so, Mel likes to say she likes to push dancers into the deep end. And very early on, she was giving us improvisation classes. Improvisation is very much not a part of the practice, or many classical traditions. And sometimes when someone says improvise, it's really difficult to do. I found myself really going back into like my own patterns of movements and not really being able to generate anything new. But Nova's approach to improvisation was, at the beginning, counterintuitive because she set a lot of limits. So, spatial limits, temporal limits, maybe the amount of times you can interact, maybe the time of gesture confused. But I found that through those limitations, it allowed me to open up specificity and find new ways to move it. Like, okay, since the corridor is now really, really slim, I have to find different ways to move through it than I usually would. And I really carried forward that kind of approach to my own practice today. And I'm really grateful for almost like cracking it open the door to my practice a little bit wider. The company's process mirrors its culture, allowing dancers to bring all their experiences into the work. Instead of siloing different forms, Nova Dance encourages finding innovative intersections between them, exploring how they can inform and enhance each other. This approach has enabled me to integrate my diverse training into a cohesive and dynamic expression. When the pandemic hit, Nova Dance showcased its resilience and adaptability. The company very quickly pivoted, ensuring that we, the artists, continue to have opportunities to learn and create. One of the most significant experiences during this time was my participation in the High Project's migration online residency. This residency entails in an evolving world where everything was going to virtual spaces. It was I want to say a group of maybe 5, 6 different arts organizations who came together to brainstorm different strategies on how to pivot marginalized forms online, whether that's music, dance, visual art, power spaces that art forms can exist online. This experience allowed me to engage with global artists and take on the role of creativity for the first time. And today, this residency has transformed into a prototype for a dance-centered virtual platform called Reconnections Body, Art, and Learning. Through Nova Dance, I started off as a dancer, but my journey has evolved to address my desire to take on purposeful direction and broaden my skills. This dual involvement has provided me with a comprehensive understanding of the dance world. The company has always supported my creative endeavors, allowing me to explore and develop my choreographic skills and skills as a dancer, and also find different ways of interacting with artists. Nova Dance is a place where dance is truly always on the forefront. Whether as a company dancer or part of the administrative team, every role I undertake at Nova Dance centers my passion for dance. And this holistic approach has enabled me to thrive in an environment that values both artistic expression as well as professional growth and appreciation. Nova Dance's commitment to fostering artistic excellence and providing growth opportunities has been a driving force in my career and set a huge example for how I want to be as an artist. The company's support has allowed me to pursue my passion and continue to evolve as an artist. Thank you so much for allowing me to share my story. Nova Dance has not only shaped me as an artist, but has become a second home where dance truly comes first.
Thank you, Rachel. I forgot to say, at any point when anybody wants to ask a question, you're small enough for to just put your hand up. We will space for that. I'm going to share about an initiative that I'm super proud of, which was bringing Rachel Rollins, who's an art psychotherapy graduate student with the Canadian International Institute for Art Therapy, into Nova Dance for the practice and placement site. Or Nova Dance is one of the practical placement sites for her studies. And it has created space for something really exciting and impactful work. What is art therapy? It exists on a continuum, and these words are prepared by Rachel at this meeting on her behalf. She couldn't be here. But the practice of art therapy exists on a continuum and ranges from non-clinical art as therapy, also called therapeutic art, up to individual clinical psychotherapy. As one moves along this continuum, we can find art therapists practicing in schools, prisons, shelters, hospitals, and other community or health settings. Art therapy can sometimes be difficult to describe because the potential for engaging in this type of art making is vast. Therapeutic art making may support catharsis, expression, self-compassion, self-agency, rest, or social dimensions. Art psychotherapy may offer a way to work with past trauma, anxiety, depression, grief, relationships, and any other facet of our emotional and mental health which may need support. As a process, it does not mean art making replaces all dialogue and discussion. Rather, art making adds to the process by offering visualization, distance, sensory and somatic engagement, and non-verbal expression. At Divergence, we are asking the question of what it means to have an art therapist working within the Dex Center. We are co-designing replacement and trying different approaches. We're hoping we'll be able to sustain and expand upon what is working after this placement concludes. While Rachel is currently the art therapy intern, we have dreamed up a possible future position, and Katie came up with this title, which is Art Psychotherapist and Curator of Intuitive Healing. So we're hoping to access some of those funders that we discussed earlier so that we can get this position done. So what does it look like for the dance? We've done individual psychotherapy for dance artists. Some of the deepest work has been offering one-on-one psychotherapy sessions to our artists. Rachel's approach to this work is a client-centered, trauma-informed, and rooted in feminism, anti-racism, and anti-oppression. This one-on-one format, in person or virtual, allows for a fully customized experience for the artists. We also have a weekly Zoom gathering titled Therapeutic Creative Studio. Anyone is welcome to join. And there's an opening check-in, and then Rachel offers us a starting prompt, and everyone works with whatever materials they have. We close each session with optional sharing and witnessing each other's art, and this falls into the non-clinical realm of the practice. And the goals are to build community and experience the benefits from the process of art making itself. We have a professional development week that we do every year at the Theater Center, and inside of that, last year our theme was rest and reflection. So there were therapeutic art workshops which explored these themes through various art materials and group discussions. And we've been doing art-based leadership reflection. Asha, who you're going to hear from soon, joined Divergence in January as our first full-time general manager. And by meeting once a month with Rachel and participating in this kind of non-verbal artistic expression, we're just trying to, in this world where, oh, there's a grant, oh, there's a show, oh, we think we have to do. We're just trying to find that and to ground ourselves in art making and learn about each other as collaborators. So, Rachel served 4 individual clients with 82 individual art therapy sessions. And through the process of art review with each client, she can track the achievement of goals, quick shifts, and forward movement. We have held 23 therapeutic creative studio Zoom sessions. And these sessions, along with other programming mentioned, comes to more than 150 hours of art therapy and therapeutic art offered to the Divergence community in the past year. We received ongoing feedback from participants, and it's been overwhelmingly positive. I myself find it so grounding as the artistic director to be able to connect with people through art that isn't necessarily the art that I'm making. And looking ahead, we'd love to include even more structured research and evaluation to measure the impact and success of these initiatives on both the individual artist's well-being and the company as a whole. Any questions or comments or anything people are doing that feels like, oh yeah, I'm doing something like that, maybe more there? Smart, okay, very smart. So now I will hand it off to Tasha, please.
And you have some examples. We don't have to be too long of it. I will talk us through this. I might as well. I don't know what great I have been read as well. um, Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Nega. And this is my first in-person presentation with Daisy and Rachel, I think. Yes, that's something that we never before. But today, okay, as you can all see, I'm moving to a actual tangible written sort of format. I'm tired of screens, even though that is what my job is. I am Asha. I'm the first co-content manager of the event, as you mentioned today. In addition to that, I'm an actor, writer, and editor. And today, we are going to talk about practical and tangible steps towards the decolonized model within the arts sector. This is a method that we should know about. So some of what I'm going to say, and I'm happy to say that it will resonate with what Carol mentioned earlier in the previous section. We are going to touch upon language that others us. We are going to touch upon the contacts and working relationships that are more about sharing resources than it is about property and problem. So I'm glad that that's actually happened, and there's going to be a lot of evidence. Within the current working structures in the arts sector, even as we collectively move towards a more equitable structure, arts organizations are still using language that others use, whether it is in our contracts, whether it is in our grant writing. And this is because this language has been defined for us by funding bodies, by arts councils, by governing institutions. There is a historical untethering of equity and equality that we are as Divergence persevering, and we should all persevere to put it right. At Divergence, we have in place many practices that accomplish this purpose. We operate our principles of care, compassion, and kindness. I got the order rest. Some of the practices have already been discussed and demonstrated here by my work family. So, what does care, compassion, and kindness look like in other tangible terms? While we're looking time enough to expand on every practice embodied in our workshop, some of the more easily adaptable ones are hybrid ones. So this was created hybrid. We are presenting this hybrid. But what else does that mean? Is it just being virtual and in person? Does that alone qualify as hybrid? What we are talking about is something that allows for customized work structures, taking into account different life situations. So one example of comparison would be someone who's come new to the country. Their situation would be through having to take time out for their immigration process, get health cards, and all the other things that it takes for life to settle down here. Another example would be a vastly different one, somebody who is in the final year of their graduate. Now, there are life situations, life schedules for both of these circumstances and both of these individuals are very different. So what we're talking about is a hybrid model that is far more than whether it's just be personal working. It's something that is customized to various individuals' lives. One of the tangible things that we do to incorporate that is a shared calendar and scheduling system so that everybody can view it and we can work in collaboration, knowing what the other people are working on for themselves. Another thing is we offer childcare and caregiver compassion funds and rest residencies for others. People should not be penalized for taking care of their loved ones or prioritizing their own. They should be able to do it without fear of material repercussions or professional loss. So that is actually something that you will see written into our plan. It is something that we provide, and people understand that it's one of the benefits of working with us. Another thing we do is we embody a work model where we as an organization actively pursue grants and funds from various sources that can then be redirected towards artists so that they can have year-round income generation. What this does is empower the artists and move them from living in a survivorship mode. They can now be discretionary about it. And parallelly, they're also developing additional skills. They're developing skills through mentorship, through on-the-job training, in production, in direction, in financial management, in administration. All the things that will help them in their own productions, as well as helping to retain their employment within the art sector. And of course, get money and do business. Our contracts, examples of which I can begin to each of you, they are two different ones. So here we have got one employment contract that we received in a project contract. Our contracts are simplified and based on trust model, where we understand that everybody wants to work together and create successful creative projects in the city. Therefore, it is a given that we will all bring our best to the program. We do not rely on conducive wording within a contract to quote unquote scare people into bringing their maximum output. We like to think of our contracts as an evolving and shared document of collaboration, where every party's best interest is expressed through compassionate understanding. At the end of the day, we know that life happens. We are more interested in building relationships that last. And that is again echoing Carol's sentiment. In building relationships that last and contribute to a positive and holistic art sector. Our simplified contracts also ensure that artists are not spending hours perusing through it, nor should it be a source of anxiety for them. It's something that they can read quickly, understand simple words, and we're all coming here together to do our best. And it is fun. We are a people-centric organization working with the concept of a global village. It's about collaboration and creative exchange so that everyone benefits. And this marks a specific and imperative shift from the profit margin-based corporate systems where only 2% at the top of the financial hierarchy benefit, as opposed to everyone. When people are placed at the center, productivity increases organically, which naturally improves efficiency, reduces stress, and prevents burnout. It retains artists and arts professionals within the art sector and reduces turnover, thereby positively impacting the overall operations of art organizations. So this is a win-win model for the individual, arts organization, and the art sector. And if we have time, we can continue to extrapolate those benefits for the city, for the province, for the nation, for the entire world. You hear that? My speech ends, and I'm happy to introduce my esteemed colleague, David Smith, who joined us as the Artistic Director intern through our Manifest. Yes, currently. Yes, she's been studying that, yeah. You weren't correct. No, yes, but I'm happy that another tangible example of where evidence sources, grants, and brings artists.
How's everybody doing? Good, okay. So if at any point you feel like you're being talked at, I'm sorry. And feel free to just put up your hand and say, I need a break or a question. We can talk about it. It's a small room, and so we just get to know each other. My name is Stacey Smith, and I am a storyteller, and so what that means is I am a writer, I'm a curator, I'm an actor, and I'm a burlesque partner. I started with Femme Fatale, Women in Femmes of Color, which is the first burlesque treatment institute in Canada, and I founded it in 2010 because I was inspired by Josephine Baker. And I was inspired by Black women being unruly and rebellious. It's also the first burlesque troupe centered around Black women and children. I came to Nova Dance as an artist, and I stayed on as a host and occasional writer for Nova Dance. And one of the projects that I'm working on as the artistic director intern of Nova Dance is offerings at Ishtabina. Offerings at Ishtabina was originally centered around animating historical sites. And through artist conversation and community gathering, it became something more than that while also still remaining the same. And so it shifted into becoming offerings at Ishtabina in which we center the land, and became a land-based project in which we honor the indigenous people, the Black people, people of color who have lived and worked in this land. And so that is the project we're currently working on right now. And if anyone is wondering what Ishtabina means, it's actually the Anishinaabe word for it's a high place. And so we really wanted to make sure that this project is really honoring the indigenous people that live on this land, and also honoring the Black people, people of color that have really different on this land, and making art that is a kind of offering. Any questions so far? I think there's everything to say. Pass it back to them.
I think it's the same for me. If, really, if there's any conversations you had or questions, we're here and open to that. And if not, if they want to stretch their legs and walk in the sun, that's great too. I learned that Maria was one of the most popular Europeans in the world. Many years ago, so and I love it.
So are you there? I don't know last year. A couple of class. I think in the second year. And I said, oh my gosh, I remember doing it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Was it obvious that it was brewing? I had a question for you, Nova, in terms of the art of creating. How did it impact you, the way artists like you came in to be able to create with these different art sensations?
it's something that I've always been working towards, and because I was pre-pandemic working towards the show for 2020, which was going to have a large cast and was deliberately going to bring these different performers together. The groundwork was laid, and then during the pandemic, by sticking with people's performance contracts, but we've been doing online, we were really able to continue to break that open, so it didn't become
just one form of dance. There were multiple perspectives that were doing it. And I always say I'm born in Toronto, and so the actual diversity of the city and the multiplicity of dance, movement, and storytelling art forms that I would experience, whether it was in church basements or community centers, those were the things that was stimulated and great. So by being able to work on Swaha, which was 22 dancers with how many forms of dance, you know, more than 30? It's more than 30 different forms of dance and create at least this artistic experience. It was very, very satisfying. And also like having Daisy come on, as she said, originally we programmed her on some dance series. Then she became host of that series. Then she also worked with me as last year I dipped my toe into the world of burlesque with what's called a reverse heel with a sari. And so they do coach that. And then this year also I'm presenting something for Daisy at Buddies in that time zone, June 20th, getting it for the kids. And that is I'm working on an intersection of paragnotum and burlesque. And the evocative and erotic imagery of involving that goddess Kali, where there's like skulls and things like that, but also the ideas of tiger and that we like all these things. So yeah, so the way multiplicity and diversity comes together is really is also a thought.
I really love some of the thinking that you put on creating space for artists. In terms of caregiver, and some of the innovative pieces. So I'm really brought us to how did you identify some of the needs. What processes are you taking now? Partners that you engage. This is a big need in the arts community, but even beyond that, a lot of the places can consider these things. We so need that, and especially in a place like Toronto, there's very no expensive. And this is the stuff. So it is. So the question is, what processing is, how do you enter into this to start coming up with some of the innovation?
Our residency started during the pandemic. And I think it's also a contextual piece of information that Nova Dance's the HAP care operating funding happened during the pandemic. So we already had Ontario and Toronto Arts Council, and May of 2020 was when the pandemic council gave us zero operational funding. And there was a complete cessation of risk activities. So, and there were like pandemic top-ups, and suddenly we strangely had the most stability we ever had during the pandemic because of this. And so residencies came up because so many of the artists we were in conversation with, Black and Indigenous people of color specifically, who were doing a lot of art activism, and who were also in the post-George Floyd wave of wokeness being pulled into things that had the appearance of being about equity and justice, but were actually more exploitative. And so there was one artist in particular who reached out because she was in this position where she felt like she couldn't say no. She was a single mom, that she felt like she was being exploited by these organizations. So I was like, you know what, we're going to put you on an open dance residency contract, and this is what we're going to pay you for a week. And now you can say no to that job. And that was honestly where it started. And then we made a budget for it, and each year we were giving out guest residencies to artists that we were identifying in the community who were doing this work and needed a day or maybe 2 days off. Like, it's not feeding them in a day week. So it was $500 just to take some time off, or to be able to take away something. Then also during the pandemic, we went into partnership with the Baycrest Foundation, who are leaders in brain health and geriatric care. And we were providing Discover Dance programming to them in Zoom so that the people who were in care programs could participate. My composer for this big giant piece, he became the full-time caregiver for his father during the process. And then we have dancers who have children. So it was always, like, some of that stuff was the no-brainer stuff. It was just like, well, we have to take care of the people that we're working with. And then those became these initiatives. Oh, we did at one point, it was interesting, balancing act approached us and came to us, and then we were like, oh, compassion funding. And so now they've got that idea embedded in their practices that compassion funding could be given. So we give that funding to our artists. It's basically a blank check, not a blank check. It's a check with an amount, but it's carte blanche what they do with it. We don't want to see receipts. Like if you're taking Ubers to get to rehearsal, or if you're like ordering food for your parents, whatever those things are, or babysitting for your kids, it's just, here it is, you need this time. So it was really that kind of thing that led us to just keep doing it more and more and continuing to find ways that we can support the people who are making this.
That's wonderful. Thank you. That's putting values into practice. And, hopefully we can find opportunities to make further connections so that others will do this as well as being in practice. Thank you. That's why we did it today.
So you said something really interesting with during the pandemic, you as an organization would have the most studies you've ever had. So what's your status right now?
Well, that's interesting as the sector is rebuilding. And now, like, okay, so when I said complete cessation of risk activity, like, we didn't have to produce a show. We didn't have to sell tickets to a show. We were rehearsing on Zoom in people's living room in anywhere, so we weren't paying for studio rent. But all these different things were contributing to that factor. And now, 2022 onwards, as the sector's been rebuilding and navigating the ongoing challenges, we posted our first episode. We never posted an episode before, so that's impacted us. Because things are costing more, and but we're insisting on continuing to pay our artists and continuing to do work with individuals at a certain volume so that we don't just sort of receive and shrink. So we're trying to keep pushing those things and as I was trying to demonstrate earlier, it's like, okay, let's try and find stability with this one leg because nobody, like, in terms of the sector and fees, for example, we're about to do a performance in small town eastern Canada, and the amount of money that they are offering us is 3 times what a local Toronto presenter offered us for the exact same thing, actually more. Yeah, so we're going out west to do, at least to do a 20-minute site-specific performance, and the fee that we're being offered is $8,000. That's all it is, one site-specific 20-minute performance. The Toronto presenter said, we will give you $2,000, and we want a 20-minute outdoor performance, and we want you to do an hour-long class. So those are the things that we're now contending with. So to try and find stability when there's that kind of a spectrum in what's being offered is definitely challenging. And what gives us the spread and the desire and interest to keep going is surrounding ourselves by artists who are doing it and making it. So it was like, okay, we can't give up, we can't stop, we're just going to do it. That's okay.
And getting up to very good. And more questions.
So partnerships. How are you navigating partnerships? What is your checklist? What is your map right now? Approximately.
Yeah. So one of the partnerships we also heard from Laurence Nina earlier. In 2020, she did a really major shift at her organization, and Divergence was one of the ones that she reached out to and invited in, and as a creative artist. And we did something with her called the Collaborative Exchange, where, and Rashna was one of those artists, so Rashna and another one of our artists actually went and did work at the Citadel. And by having artists from no bands, it was a little, I could call it the equity shot. We sent an equity shot into this organization because now their conversations were shifting because of who was working with them. And Russian is now working with that organization as well as others. But in terms of checklists, like this, whether it's a Zoom meeting or an in-person meeting, as soon as we do the non-starm, as soon as we put the ritual repetitions up, that's like one of the key steps of making people understand that this is the way yoga dance operates. That even if it's an hour-long Zoom meeting, yes, we'll take 10 minutes to do this kind of check-in rather than being efficient and going right to the work. And there's a couple of things when we get engagements from legacy organizations, we are very vocal, in particular, about the othering language, that we don't want to be marketed in a way that makes us feel like we need to shower. We want to do it in a way that resonates for us. Or when we're presenting artists from Black or Indigenous communities, we stand for them and with them and take that burden of having to stand up for themselves on the artist's shoulder and the organization does it. And I think it's just like we have developed a bit of a reputation as, we are a disruptor organization. And when we have those conversations with potential partners, we're extremely transparent about it. And so we ask for what we give, and we give respect, and we expect it from you.